Has it ever happened with you that your boss asked you to work on a presentation and you waited until the last minute? Has it ever happened with you that you wanted to do something but couldn't find the time to do it? So what really is time management? Can time even be managed? Each one of us gets the same 24 hours. It's roughly 1440 minutes, 86,400 seconds in a day. That's the same time that you have, that I have, and someone as successful as Elon Musk or Bill Gates have in their days. But you can't save time from today and use it tomorrow. Or you can't borrow time from the next week and use it today. Time is external to us and we have no control over it. How we choose to spend that time, how we choose to manage ourselves in how we use that time is, however, completely in our control. And that reminds me of this quote that says, the bad thing is that time flies, but the good thing is that you are the pilot. Now, let me give you an example. It's sort of like packing when you have a vacation coming up. You have a huge pile of clothes that you don't bother to fold and you just dump them into the suitcase. And in contrast to that, imagine yourself neatly folding these clothes and then organizing them into the suitcase. Chances are that the same size of the suitcase will be able to accommodate a lot more. A lot of clothes will fit into the same size of the suitcase. And that is what exactly also applies to our time. If we are able to organize ourselves and our tasks effectively around the time that we have through the day, chances are that we will be able to get a lot more stuff done. So in this video today, I'm going to share with you my top productivity time management hacks. So the first one is to get started. I always thought that procrastination had something to do with the work that I was avoiding, had something to do with the work that I was putting off doing. Now, believe it or not, but procrastination, Mel Robbins says, has nothing to do with the work that you are putting off or that you are avoiding. It's actually a form of stress relief. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say you have some stuff going on in your life, and who doesn't have stuff going on in their lives, right? Maybe you fought with your significant other, your husband, wife, partner, or maybe you had a bad day at work. Your boss scolded you for something, or maybe, you invested in a stock that crashed. Whatever, it could be a lot of things. And you have this stress ball subconsciously that is, looming over you and hanging on your head. And you come to begin your day, you have some work to get done. You have 10 calls to make and you need to call these really, influential, high title people. And when you sit down to do that, your mind tells you, hey, you know what? You want me to make calls to these people that I'm scared of speaking to? Why don't you instead watch cat videos for 5 minutes? And those 5 minutes become 10, 15, 20, whatever, an hour passes by and you put off making those calls or doing that work. This could apply to any work that you're trying to get done. Now, the way to look at this is that not that you are a procrastinator, but instead that you have a habit of procrastinating. And for any habit, there is a trigger, there's a pattern, and then there's reward. In this situation, stress is the trigger. Your pattern is the habit of avoiding or, putting off the work that needs to be done. And reward, is stress relief. You get some stress relief out of procrastinating. Here's what, Mel Robbins suggests that we should do. First, when you're procrastinating something, acknowledge that there's a trigger. Acknowledge there's stress. Acknowledge that you're procrastinating. Then count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to break away from the pattern of avoidance. And tell yourself that I'm going to get this work done, or I'm going to begin doing this work only for 5 minutes or only for 10 minutes or only for 15 minutes. The most important thing is that you get started, is that you get yourself out from that situation, sit down and begin doing that work. Put a timer, for 10 minutes and just begin doing it. Chances are, and research suggests, that 80% of the people will see that work through till the end, meaning that getting started is the hardest part. So try to break that chain. The next time that you don't want to create that presentation, the next time that you don't want to script that video, think to yourself, I'm just going to give this work 10 minutes and I'm going to get started and see how that works for you. The other thing is time blocking, meaning for everything, all the tasks or activities that you want to get done through the day, dedicate time for them and plan when you want to do what thing. Let's say you want to sneak in a 30-minute workout and it takes you 15 minutes to get ready in your workout wear. Block that 45 minutes on your calendar for workout. Let's say you want to prepare a nice lunch for yourself. Dedicate 1 hour and block that time for lunch making. That ways you really know what you need to do at what time. And if you're able to even follow that up to some extent, you'll get stuff done. I use Google Calendar and just block things and time block it. You may choose to use, any calendar app that's native to your phone, but try it out if you haven't already. Start with planning and time blocking for 2 days in a week, 3 days in a week, and see how that works for you. A tip would be to buffer in some reaction time into your calendar, meaning if you're blocking your complete day, trying to get stuff done, make sure that you have 1 or 2 hours or whatever time works for you, but have some reaction based time, meaning there are things that you may not plan for, but they may come up. How do you then, plan to address those? So have some reaction based time. Maybe you get a phone call from your friend, maybe your parents want to meet up, anything. It could be anything, but bake in some reaction based time into your calendar. The next thing is when you don't have enough time on hand, meaning let's say you wanted to script your video. Okay, you're a creator and you want to script your YouTube video. You think scripting takes an hour. You don't have that hour, you just have 30 minutes. My advice to you would be, and what has worked well for me, is to be able to reduce the scope of that task, but don't skip that task. You want an exercise, maybe you need an hour to exercise. You don't have that hour, you have just 30 minutes. Exercise for 30 minutes, but don't skip exercising. You have 15 minutes, exercise for 15 minutes, but don't skip exercising. So reduce the scope, but don't skip the task. Let's say, you want to script your video, it takes an hour, you have only 20 minutes. Do what you can in 20 minutes. Don't skip scripting out the video. The next thing is prioritize. So here's what I do. I try to, break down my tasks into urgent and important, and let me show you how.
A lot of us find it confusing to differentiate between urgency and importance, and which is why we continue to put out fires. So here's a prioritization tool that I use to plan my day and plan my months. If you find yourself confused about these two terms, look at this image right here, and this reminds you of time, right? So urgency almost always is a function of time, whereas importance, if there's any task that you're trying to do and any activity that you're trying to do, and if it takes you closer to your long-term goals or puts you on the right direction, it would probably be an important activity. And what happens a lot of time is that we react to things that need our immediate attention, so think urgent things, but at the same time we let go of or don't make time for things that are important, that may not be urgent. There's no fire if we don't do it today or do it right now, but we continue to not work on them, and those are actually the activities that need our attention and time to move closer to our long-term goals. So how do I do it? I create this 4-quadrant system on a paper or in any notebook or copy, and on one axis I have urgency. So here I have urgent, here I have non-urgent, and then on the other axis I talk about the importance of a task. So this is important, this is not important. Now every quadrant represents a specific type of activity, and let me take you into what these activities look like. So let's look at this quadrant out here. This is about activities that are urgent and also important, meaning if there is a crisis that you're in, if you're a mom and maybe your baby is crying, if there's an upcoming deadline, if you're a student or a professional and you need to submit a presentation or prepare for an examination, or any firefighting that you're doing, it may be important, and it's also critical that you do it right away. So for things that fall under this quadrant, you need to make time for them and do it right away. Now, the other aspect of this is stuff that is urgent, but it's not important, which is this lower quadrant out here. Now, you may want to do this right away, you may feel inclined to do it, but think of things like something urgent, but it's someone else's job to do. So let's say you're picking up stuff that really is not your KPI, or not something that you should be accountable for in your work day. Or an important thing that I've also put here is perfecting endlessly. You may feel the urge to spend, a lot of time and spend it, that very day. it's not important. Perfecting is not important. So you may be inclined to act on that need for perfection in your head, but you're actually wasting a lot of time on that. So you need to limit the time that you spend on perfecting. Maybe let's say there's a call that you don't want to take. Now, if you end up taking it because the phone is ringing, you'll have to pick it up. Or if you'll have to decide whether you pick it up or not. But if you know that there's someone that you don't want to talk to, it's not important for you, you should actually try to eliminate or even reduce the work that you do in this quadrant. The other thing is this one out here, which is not urgent but is important. And this is the one that I want you to focus on. If you want to sit down and plan for something, if you want to invest in your self development, if you want to learn something, if you want to exercise, if you want to work on your side hustle, if you want to work on your business, it may not be urgent, at any given point of time, but unless you do it. And another example of this could be you want to stay fit and healthy. And so the time that you want to spend on meal planning, right? And a meal planning activity may not be urgent, but it's important that you plan it out in your schedule for the day so that you're able to move towards your goal of staying fit or staying healthy. So these are the activities that you should plan for, that you should make time in your schedule or calendar for, and try to maximize the time that you're spending on activities like this, because these are the ones that will really help you move in the long term. Also, if you don't plan out these activities, some of these may fall into this quadrant and become urgent. For example, if you have an exam coming up or a presentation that you want to prepare for, if you don't plan it well in advance, you may be in a situation where the deadline is, right around the corner, and then you have to act on it in a hasty manner. The next thing is not urgent and not important. So I have stuff like, gossiping or mindless social media consumption or binge watching TV or excessive TV or anything that you consider as time wasters. Now, in my opinion, not true recreation is wasting of time. So if you decide that you want to maybe spend 2 hours or an hour watching Netflix, go ahead and do that. That's not a waste of time. But if you continue to do it mindlessly, or when you really don't want to, you've not thought about doing it, but you end up just because going on in a loop and continue to do that. So try and limit the time that you spend here. If I look at my work or how I plan my day, I tend to spend a lot of time on this quadrant here, which is important but not urgent. So close to 60% of my time goes here, 20% here, and then 10% here and 10% here. So this is how I plan it. Feel free to use it and let me know how it works for you.
I hope you liked this video. If you did, comment down below and let me know if you need more tips from me in the space of productivity, time management.